Shana Tova. Happy New Year. Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. Glad that you are all here with us at UUTC this morning. Thank you for coming out on a drippy day. Thank you for showing up, families and all. Thank you for anybody who's been here for the first time, second time, or 100th time for gracing us with your presence. I'm Reverend Bob Renjilian, and I just got vaccinated yesterday. And I am feeling as if both of my arms are sore, and my body is saying, you just got vaccinated. Now, I'm wearing my mask because of things that are coming up that I don't want to miss. I don't want to catch anything. So I rushed to CVS to get my vaccination, the first appointment available. And it turned out that they said most insurance and Medicare wasn't even ready yet. So if you showed up at CVS and you wanted your shot on Saturday morning yesterday, they said it would be $190 and you could submit it yourself. But not the Unitarian Universalist benefit plan. They knew it was coming and they'd already turned in their paperwork. And the pharmacist said, don't tell anyone. Do not let the other people know you got it covered. That would be bragging too much. I hope that each and every one of you will be well. I know that we've had COVID popping up here or there, so our masks are optional, and any point you want to wear one, you're welcome to wear one. It's hard to eat our soup while you're wearing a mask, but you could try. You could try. All right. For our announcements this morning, there were a couple of things I wanted to make sure. There wasn't a slide for this one, but next Saturday is Tim McGann's memorial service. So if you hadn't been paying attention since Tim passed away, we're now finally up on the date, coming up soon, the end of this week. And so please check out whether your schedule allows to be here. It is not being transmitted. It will be live in the room. One. All right. Some other announcements are on slides, and I'm going to go through the slides with you. See me there on the edge of the screen and all those UUs with yellow side with love shirts. That was last year's Pride Festival, and last year we had been asked in advance if we could have some volunteers to sit in at the Unitarian Universalist booth there. And I've reached out to the Asheville ministers to say, hey, is that still going on? They say, yes, it is. And their brand new minister hadn't realized we'd cooperated before. So if you want to hang out in the booth and tell people about Unitarian Universalism in Brevard, let me know and I'll pass along your name, or you just stop by and say, I'm a UU too. I left a whole stack of my business cards last year for when I couldn't be in that booth and I was doing other things. But invite you to go and enjoy on September 30th. Then the Spiritual Explorers is meeting Thursdays. They have already gotten started, but if you want to jump in and get an idea of this book, Dancing in the Darkness, and being in the discussion with others, please do. The Art of Being had an introductory session and is now ready to start up. It will be, 13, 20, 27. The 27th is the next one, a Wednesday afternoon. It says there's a $50 donation to UUTC. This, along with anything you do at UUTC, if you find that this is a financial hardship, we do not want anyone to feel left out of anything that we do because of finances. Speak to me. We'll make sure it works for you. We're still looking for volunteers to help coordinate with St. Philip's and the Jewish community and being ready for Power Up, the fundraiser, and It's coming up a month away now, so we really do need the right folks to be involved. The people who were involved last year from UUTC are glad to handhold through the process, but they have other obligations that can't do it leading up to the event. This is Super Sunday, I already mentioned. You can try wearing your mask while you're eating soup, but in any case, we'll have soup in there. Please join us after the service. And as I always say, I cannot possibly keep track of everything that goes on in this place. We did see a slide that said, come on Tuesdays for lunch. You're welcome to come on Tuesdays for lunch, but we've stopped doing the Tuesday lunches. So what you can do is show up and say, hey, Reverend Bob, I'm bored, eat with me. But we don't have the actual group going at this point. We may revitalize it. We're trying, hey, it worked for a while, and then people stopped coming, fine. We won't put it on the schedule. We'll try other things. So, every once in a while, we announce things that don't exist. Turn our attention now to our candles of joy and sorrow. Do we have an idea of how many folks in the room might have a joy or a sorrow they want to mention? Oh, we got a whole lot. I'm not even going to try to count. We'll just keep going until we're done. All right. I did want to start with a candle for Karen Laws. And Karen's back home from the hospital, and we light this candle. Glad that the stress for Karen and Mo is now reduced. Thank you for making it through your ordeal. Good to see you this morning. I'm going to start over here.
I have a joy, and that is that my little family is finally living in Brevard. We're so happy to be closer to our community. We weren't too far away, but it was far enough. Glad to be here.
Carrie, it's great to hear that you are now living in Brevard. Nice to have a space for the family. Good. Wonderful. Who else was over here? Kevin? Sure.
Happy to see all these families and kids this morning.
And we too, like Kevin, are happy to see families here this morning. Great. Tricia?
Just a concern that my father, Mo Rico's health stays okay.
So we're hoping that your father's health stays okay. Lighting a candle for that. Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I have obviously a lot of sorrow going on right now because I lost my wife 2 weeks ago. But this is about joy, the joy that there was such a wealth of support and love, from financial to errands to just texting me a heart or something to let me know that you were thinking of me. And I just especially want to put a spotlight on two families. My family, my sister Lynn Halsey, who took us in more than a year ago and was just a tremendous support to me, and I couldn't have done what I did in the last year. And to this family over here, the Renters, who have just enveloped me and as well as have enveloped River with their love and tenderness, and I couldn't have survived the last month without peace.
Elizabeth, we light this candle with you. Your loss, of course, but also the joy of the support of everybody in that row and a whole bunch of people out here who were letting you know that they were thinking of you and supporting you and providing ways in which you had that support. Very good. Very good. Is there more on this side? All right, I'm going to move over to this side. In this section, anybody? I thought I saw somebody move their hand in this section. Somebody want to, so it doesn't look like I'm lying? Okay.
The joy of the art of being.
Joy of the art of being. Thank you, Marcia. No? Okay. Jill?
Joy for wonderful cousins reunion in Ohio with 18 Kramer cousins getting together for the first time in 30, 40 years.
Wow. A cousin's reunion for the first time in 30, 40 years. Thank you, Jill. We have a candle glowing. Let's light a candle for those things that folks at home may be hoping. I also know that we have folks who have gotten out of the hospital, folks who are waiting for medical procedures and other things. The glow of all of these candles are just the start of what we learn from one another during coffee hour and our times of mixing and mingling in any ways as a congregation. We hold together our joys and our sorrows, and it makes us stronger as a community. So thank you. I hope that you will now recognize the worth and dignity of the people around you.
You got worth and I got ring the bell.
We're supposed to go. Good morning, everybody. I am so glad, as Reverend Bob said, to see you out on this somewhat drizzly morning. My name is Gypsy Richardson. I am your worship assistant today. The opening words are from Meg Barnhouse, entitled "The Beauty of the Whole." We gather to worship. Our hearts are alive with hope that here we will be truly seen, that here we will be welcomed into the garden of this community, where the simple and the elegant, the fluted and the frilled, the shy and the dramatic complement one another and are treasured. May we know that here each contributes in their way to the beauty of the whole. Come, let us worship together all our genders, sexualities, politics, clappers, non-clappers, progressive or conservative. May we root ourselves in the values of this faith: compassion and courage, transcendence, justice, and transformation for whatever our congregation declares as the values. Our opening hymn is 346, "Come Sing a Song with Me." It will be up on the screens, and if you wish to stand as you're able, please do. The chalice lighting today is by Adam Slate, and it is in unison. It is up on the screen. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals: love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. You look around, look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual. None needs strength and faults. We light the chalice today, also this that lives with each of us. Did you get it? That thing is a little tricky. Push it further out.
Oh, that's the problem.
Oh.
Come on, come on. There you go.
Now all is well with the world.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Kevin. I get the joy of working with our kids here at UUTC. And this month, our theme is on welcome, welcoming people in, welcoming the best that the universe can bring us, and sometimes also welcoming in the highs and the lows of life. And this morning, for our words of wisdom, we're going to be doing a story called Sophia's Guest. And this is many versions of the story are floating around. You probably heard some of it before. Well, Sophia was a teacher who had lived in a little town for so long that the kids that she had taught had grown up and were having kids of their own, and those kids were coming to her in school to be in her class. And one day, Sophia walked to her school to start her day as a teacher, and there was a note there in her classroom. And the note said, "Dear Sophia, I'll be around tomorrow. I wonder if I might stop by your house and have some tea in the afternoon. Love, God." And it could be signed God. It could be signed also peace or kindness or love or the universe. And at first, Sophia thought this was a joke because having a note signed by God, what did that mean? And if it was a joke, who would make a joke like that? She didn't know anybody who'd make a joke like that. But she thought about it and went, well, if this is really going to happen, I better be ready. So she went home and she'd do what all of y'all would do if God was coming to visit, which would you'd clean a lot. Try and make it look orderly, at least look like you've been trying to keep things up. But she also thought, well, if I'm going to clean up and if God might be coming, what should I have? So she cleaned up and she started, she bought some flowers. She bought one of those big welcome mats that you get and put in front of her front door. And she said, well, I better bake some stuff too. So that day she baked a new loaf of bread and she baked some cookies. And she thought, what might God or the universe want to drink? So she made iced tea. She made some hot tea ready. She also made some lemonade just in case. She said, okay, things coming together. And then there was a knock on her door. She said, oh, I'm not quite ready yet, but she got herself all ready. She went to the door, her heart was beating, and she got to the door and she opened it up, and it was a neighbor from down the street. This neighbor, he had lost his husband a while back and was lonely, and he was walking by and saying, hey, Sophia, I haven't spoken to you in a while, and I smelled the fresh baked bread. She goes, oh, yes, well, come on in. I'm supposed to have an important guest later, but come on in. So they sat down, and they were having a cup of tea together and talking some. And there's another knock on her door. So she jumped up and said, I'll be right back. She went to the door and opened up. It was a bunch of kids from her class who had been playing down the street. And they said, is that fresh baked cookies we smell? She said, oh, yes, I do have fresh baked cookies. And they're on the sill cooling. That's what you smelled. Come on in. So she brought them in. She got them some lemonade, got cookies. And they sat down and they were talking with the neighbor from down the street. And after a little while passed and they're having a nice time, another knock on the door. She got up and went to it. This must really be the important visitor. And she opened the door. It's another old friend, but she hadn't seen this friend in a while. She had lost her job a while back, and times were tough. And she said, "Hey, Sophia, I heard the voices. It sounded like maybe a little get-together here. Do you mind if I join you?" She said, "Oh, absolutely, come in." And as the course of the afternoon went by, people heard the talk and the chatter. They smelled the good food. They brought more in. Some neighbors put some dishes together to join also. And now there's some music and there was singing, and it grew and it built. And there's more and more people. It spilled out into the yard. It was in the front yard. It was in the backyard. There's dancing now too. And it was really a good time. No one can remember such a good community time for a while now. And the next morning, Sophia woke up and said, "Well, that was a really nice time, but the important visitor didn't come by." And she got busy with her day and went through the day, and then the next day went to school. And when she got to school, there was a note there. And it said, "Dear Sophia, I had such a wonderful time yesterday. The bread delicious, the cookies were divine, tea mixed with lemonade was my favorite. Thanks for being a wonderful host. I hope we can do it again soon. Signed, God, or the universe, or kindness, or love." When we welcome everybody in, when we take care of everybody, then we get to experience the very best that there is, and that is divine to all of us. And now Roan will come up and we'll light our children's candle and we'll sing the kids out to the children's class. Thanks.
It's great to have our families among us. We've had a few things on our slides recently that speak to families. So the picture of the tarps and tents drive that's going on, and the idea that we do have homeless families here in Transylvania County. We have the family place and the work that's done in the community, and that is our specific extra charity this month. If you put the money into the envelope, not just loosely in the basket, it goes to the family place. Or, of course, for those of you at home, you can click online and find the way to donate specifically one-time gift. We are a generous people. We're aware of the ways in which folks all over are dealing with harsh weather, natural disasters, and human-made ones. We are given the presence of the divine every time we have soup and leave the door open for anybody who comes. And we are generous people in the way in which we give with love to help support all of that happening. We will now gratefully receive the morning offering. For all that is given in love, we receive with great joy, and we say, thank you. I invite you in this moment to gather yourselves. Gather yourselves in whatever way makes sense to concentrate, release, to bring yourself into a present moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here today on this drippy, raining morning know that in the midst of all of the weather we could have, we are so fortunate to have had the mildness in the midst of so many storms blowing at the doors of congregations and congregants all up and down the coasts and in the islands. Spirit of love and life, may we always remember that even in the dark drippiness, there are others who may find the need for what we have to give. Spirit of love and life, we, along with our Jewish neighbors, recognize the Holy Week, the idea of a new beginning, a new year of all of creation and everything, and the hope for a good year for all of us. May we reflect prayerfully on the ways in which our lives may live up better this time, better to the goals that we had, the resolutions we had, the things that we know are just and right and caring. Spirit of love and life, we bind ourselves in knowing that along with all others on this day, this weekend, our way of worship is only one in the diversity of all the ways out there, and yet, the golden rule is there throughout. May we live up to that. As we look at the faces around us each day, may we recognize that each face represents an individual, and yet behind those clouded eyes may also be something of the divine. May we remember our exercise and recognition and dignity on a Sunday morning is only practice for our work days and our weekdays and whoever we might come across. For Spirit of love and life, we know that your Spirit flows through all. These, the prayers of our hearts and the thoughts and meditations of our minds, we hold now in a moment of silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind, we say, Amen. Blessed be. How's this? Louder. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. You know what? The sermon today is about welcoming wholeness. It's about embracing everything. Right and wrong, and as Parker Palmer says, inviting a grace of wholeness. I'm going to read from Parker Palmer an extract from his most recent book. This extract is from, he's explaining to 2015 graduates the wisdom that he has learned through time. As you know, most people who are brought in for graduations to be the graduation speaker are thought to have something good to say. You can decide for yourself with what I extract from the total of the speech. My first suggestion is simple, Parker Palmer says. Be reckless when it comes to affairs of the heart. Now, lest someone think I'm trying to corrupt America's youth, I'm looking at you, parents and grandparents. What I mean is to fall madly in love with life. Be passionate about some part of the natural and our human worlds, and take risks on its behalf, no matter how vulnerable they make you. But understand that when you live this way, you will soon learn how little you know and how easy it is to fail. To grow in love and service, you must value ignorance as much as knowledge, and failure as much as success. Clinging to what you already know is the path to an unlived life. So cultivate beginner's mind. Walk straight into your not knowing, and take the risk of failing and falling again and again, and then getting up to learn again and again. That's the path to a life lived large in the service of love and truth and justice. Second, as you integrate ignorance and failure into all your knowledge and success, do the same with all the alien parts of yourself. The alien parts of yourself. Take everything that's bright and beautiful in you and introduce it to your shadow side. Let your altruism meet your egotism. Your generosity meet your greed. Your joy meet your grief. Everybody has a shadow, even high-minded people like us, especially high-minded people like us. But when you're able to say, I'm all of the above, my shadow as well as my light, the shadow's power is put in the service of good. As a person who's made 3 deep dives into his own shadow side and lived to serve another day, I don't speak lightly of this. I simply know it is true. And when you acknowledge and embrace all that you are, you give yourself a gift that will benefit the rest of all of us as well. Our world is in a desperate need of leaders who live what Socrates called an examined life. If you value self-knowledge, you will become the leaders we need to help renew this society. But if for some reason you choose to live an unexamined life, I beg of you, do not take a job that involves other people. Third, as you welcome whatever you find alien within yourself, extend that same welcome to whatever you find alien in the outer world. I don't know any virtue more important these days than hospitality to the stranger, to those we perceive as other than us. Fourth, take on big jobs worth doing. Jobs like the spread of love and peace and justice. That means refusing to be seduced by our cultural obsession with being effective as measured by short-term results. Our heroes take on impossible jobs and stay with them for the long haul because they live by a standard that supersedes effectiveness. The name of that standard is faithfulness. Faithfulness to your gifts and to the needs of the world, and offering your gifts to whatever needs are within your reach. If at the end of the road you can say, I was faithful, you can check out with a sense of satisfaction. Fifth, since suffering as well as joy comes with being human, I urge you to remember this. Violence is what happens when we don't know what else to do with our suffering. I'll repeat Parker Palmer again. It's emphasized in italics in the print. Violence is what happens when we don't know what else to do with our suffering. Sometimes we aim that violence at ourselves, as in overwork that leads to burnout or various forms of substance abuse. And sometimes we aim that violence at other people. The good news is that suffering can be transformed into something that brings life, not death. Happens every day. At my age, I know many people who've suffered the loss of the dearest person in their lives. At first, they go into a deep grief and certain their lives will never be worth living again. But then they slowly awaken to the fact that not in spite of their loss, but because of it, they become bigger, more compassionate people, with more capacity of heart to take in other people's sorrow and joy. So every day, exercise your heart by taking in life's pains and joys. That kind of exercise will make your heart supple, so that when it breaks, which it surely will, it will break not into a fragment grenade, but into a greater capacity for love. Wholeness. Wholeness, so important. So important. What this just said out loud is something that we might sign up to go speak to our elected representatives about. Tell me about your shadow side and how your egotism is now linked to your altruism. Tell me more about the things that you see are a weakness, that you think that means you can't get elected, you won't be followed, you won't be effective, is what Parker Palmer was saying. And it's probably true. If you look at it, what gets rewarded is those folks who seem to be successful, flashy. I've got this, I've got that. But we know that over time, the ones that we lift up are not those who were leading us with short-term goals and this or that, but those who have made a difference over a lifetime of working for love and justice and compassion. There's so much we can learn from those who have gone before. It's interesting right now at Rosh Hashanah, one of the things I learned, I don't think I remembered hearing this when she died, but that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died about this time in the Jewish calendar. And that some, but not all Jewish people believe that dying during Rosh Hashanah indicates you were a righteous person during your life. So all of you, you missed it this year. Maybe next year. But that's not really it, is it? Because we know there are other folks who have made so much in the difference of opening their homes and their hearts to others. I love the story that about Sophia getting a note from God. Hey, I'm going to come visit you. You know, in the Jewish tradition, in the In the High Holy Days, when you're going to do the Passover time, in the Passover time, you leave the door ajar. You leave a chair at the table. And that's to welcome. That's to welcome. And you don't expect a person to come in. You're expecting something pretty special to show up. Well, before I confuse more of the holidays and all of you, let's go back a bit to what our reading said this morning that Gypsy found. Thank you, Gypsy, for finding some good readings to start our service. We gather to worship with our hearts alive with the hope that here we will be truly seen, that here we will be welcomed into the garden of this community where the simple and the elegant, the fluted and the frilled, the shy and the dramatic complement one another and are treasured. We want to be seen in our wholeness. And the challenge for each of us is to make sure that we are, in fact, showing our shadows. Because out in society, that's considered way too vulnerable. But in this loving space, if we are able to say, I am in pain, I am in fear, I am angry, I am afraid of what violence I may wreak onto this world. If you are able to be open and truly yourself, all of you, the wholeness of you in this space, then we have lived into our mission that Meg Barnhouse was saying, with the hope that we will be truly seen and welcomed into this garden of community in our realness, in our wholeness. Our chalice lighting was a lot more challenging than it at first appeared probably as you read it. Maybe we could have it back up on the screen for just a moment. We gather as one community, a community united by common ideals of love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, and equity. That's a good mouthful. And then what's the next word? Yet. Look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual, each one of us with our own story and needs and strengths and faults. And we lit this chalice. It took a long time to light this chalice. We lit this chalice to honor our common connection and also the uniqueness that lives within each one of us. And that uniqueness being the wholeness of us. Everything. The yet part. We come with our ideals. We're here for our ideals. Yay. Yet, we are people. And people come with a whole mix of stuff. Parker Palmer said in a quote, I think it's in our Soul Matters packet, looking back, I'm awed by the way that embracing everything, from what I got right to what I got wrong, invites the grace of wholeness. May we experience that grace and give it to others. May we recognize the pain and the imperfections that make us unique and whole and may strengthen us to aim ourselves towards our values a little more humanly by being whole rather than fake, propped up. May we be less interested in looking to be successful and effective, and more like our heroes and heroines of old who were faithful and stuck with the ideals that we hold up, even as much as they were human too. This is what I hope for us This is what I hope for our message, and thank you for listening to this sermon this morning. As you sip on your soup, as you talk to one another, as you go about doing what you're doing, may you be whole. May you be real. May you be inscribed into the book of life. I invite you to sing our final hymn of the morning and rise as you're willing and able. Number 219, O Hear My People. As we extinguish this flame, may you go out not stumbling in the darkness, but instead dancing with your shadow. May you go out and bring something of light to others, recognizing that God may show up at any moment. Your doors are open. May you go out knowing that this is a place in which real people show up, and we have as many faults as anyone else. And it's how we live and walk with one another here and out in the world that is our blessing to this world. Blessings on all of you. Amen.